Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let your arms go heavy, your breath slow. And as you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing what time it is, where you are, and what city or village you're listening from. It's love to know. And if you'd like more quiet stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe so they gently appear when you need them most. Now, let's begin. A wind moves softly through the night, carrying with it the sound of branches creaking under the weight of frost. The sky is pale with moonlight, yet the earth feels heavy, blanketed in silence. You notice the crunch of frozen soil beneath your feet, sharp and brittle, as though the ground itself has turned to stone. The air is raw, biting at your skin, each breath rising in clouds that vanish into the cold. This is not a city, not even a village. This is the world of early humans, thousands of years ago, when winters were long, dark, and unforgiving. These were the seasons when survival meant fire, shelter, and patience against the cold. You don't need to follow every word. Just let the images drift softly, like fog over the river. In caves hollowed from stone, families gathered close, pressed together in silence. The smell of smoke lingers heavy, curling from embers that never fully died, for flame was too precious to lose. Sparks crackle faintly, the glow throwing shadows on rough walls, shapes that dance and shift like spirits of the night. Outside, the frost hardens, snow settles deeper, and the world grows still. Animal hides hang thick across openings, keeping out the wind, though the cold still seeps through. Bodies lie close, warmth shared skin to skin, a quiet rhythm of breath, the only sound against the vast silence. This was how cavemen endured freezing winters, turning darkness into long nights of waiting, of sleeping in warmth borrowed from one another. You don't need to hold on to every detail. Just let the glow of firelight and the crunch of frost settle gently in your mind. The winters were endless. The nights stretched long, and yet within these caves there was a fragile kind of safety, a circle of fire, a shared body heat, a momentary escape from the storm beyond. The smell of smoke deepens, the air grows still, and time itself feels suspended. And as you sit with them near the embers, with frost pressing close beyond the cave walls, you may find yourself wondering, how did they find such fragile warmth in a world so cold? And how did those small flames keep the long winter night at bay? Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You hear it first, the crackle of wood pressed into flame. It is not loud, not roaring, but steady, like a low hum in the silence of night. The cave around you is vast, its stone walls cold and damp, their surface slick with moisture drawn from winter air. Outside, wind howls across a frozen valley, carrying with it the bite of snow, the sharpness of ice, the long cry of wolves far in the distance. But here, at the cave's heart, the fire burns. Its warmth spreads outward, softening stone, softening breath, softening fear. You see the glow on faces drawn close. Their features are rough, shadowed, marked by survival. Brows heavy, eyes dark and wide, skin hardened by frost and hunger. The fire paints them in amber light, flickering across cheekbones, across fur skins, pulled tight around shoulders. Each face leans toward the flames, as if pulled by instinct older than memory, older than language itself. They sit, they huddle, they breathe together, and slowly, one by one, they close their eyes. The cave smells of smoke, thick, woody, clinging to hides and hair. It mixes with the smell of damp stone, with the faint musk of animal skins, with the salt of sweat from bodies pressed close. It is not a clean smell, but it is familiar. It is the smell of survival. And so, the night begins. Pause here. Feel how the silence folds just beyond the glow. The fire hums, the cave breathes, but outside, The dark is heavy, endless. You don't need to follow every detail, every face, every spark. Let them drift like smoke, curling upward into shadows. For the first humans, winter was not just a season. It was threat. Okay. Frost killed plants, snow buried paths, rivers froze, animals thinned. The night stretched longer than the day. Hunger stretched longer than comfort. Sleep was dangerous to close. One's eyes too long was to risk the cold pressing in, to risk predators pressing close. Yet sleep was also necessary. And so, the fire became more than warmth. It became guard, companion, shield. Picture them now, stretched out along the fire's edge. Some lie flat on mats of grass and fur. Others lean against stone. Others curl into themselves. Their breaths rise in mist, glowing faintly in firelight before vanishing into air. Children press close to mothers. Hunters press close to one another. Elders rest with hands near embers. They do not sleep deeply, not all at once. One wakes, feeds the fire, shifts a log, stirs the embers. Another drifts into dream, then wakes. Again at the sound of wind. Sleep is shared, like warmth, like survival itself. And so, warmth and sleep become rhythm. The hiss of damp wood, the crack of burning branch, the shuffle of fur pulled tighter. These sounds mark the hours of the night. Pause again. Listen to it. The faint crackle, the soft breath, the far howl muted by snow. Time slows. You don't need to hold the sequence. Just drift with the rhythm, as if you are lying among them. Archaeologists find traces of these nights in caves, across continents, blackened stone, where fires burned. Layers of ash pressed into earth. Bones of animals charred by flame. These are not just marks of meals, but of nights endured. Ash built up where fire never truly died, where embers were fed again and again. Charcoal mixed with earth shows the rhythm of survival, nights upon nights, winters upon winters. Fire always at the center. But history is not felt in ash alone. It is felt in the silence between crackles, in the way a child presses closer to her mother, in the way a hunter stretches his hand to feel warmth on fingertips stiffened by frost. It is felt in the sigh of relief as cold recedes, if only for an hour, if only for a dream. Pause once more. Imagine lying there. Your head rests on fur, rough but soft enough. The fire glows before you, orange and red, sparks leaping upward into dark. You hear breathing around you, steady, slow. You feel warmth against your face, cold, still brushing your back. You close your eyes, open them again, watch shadows dance along stone. Time moves strangely, slower, heavier, softer. If you're still listening, notice how even now your breath slows, your body softens, your thoughts drift. You don't need to remember the science of fire, the carbon in ash, the dates of discovery. Just let the fires glow, carry you. For cavemen, warmth was not only from fire, but from one another. Bodies pressed close, fur shared, heat pooled. Alone, a man might freeze. Together, they endured. The fire's glow was steady, but it was the closeness of many that made it shelter. The cave itself became a second skin, stone walls holding back wind, stone ceiling holding back snow, fire painting it with warmth. And so, winter nights passed, not in deep, unbroken sleep, but in rhythm. Wake, feed, fire, drift, stir, press closer, dream, wake again. It was not comfort as we know it, but it was survival, okay? And survival, in its own way, was warmth enough. Pause again. Picture dawn pressing faintly at the cave's mouth. The fire burns low, its embers red, its smoke thin. The wind still howls, but softer now. Its faces stir, eyes blink open, bodies stretch. Outside, snow glitters pale in weak light. Inside, The cave smells of ash, of smoke, of fur. The night has passed. The warmth has held, and you are left with a question, drifting softly as the embers glow. Was it the fire itself that gave them the warmest sleep, or was it the silence of breathing together, the closeness of bodies, the rhythm of trust in a world so cold? Asterisk, the fire glows at the heart of the cave, but warmth alone is not enough. To sleep through the bite of winter, early humans learned to shape the world around them into shelter. Stone became wall, hide became blanket, branches became frame. The cave was their home, but it was not bare. It was shaped, softened, prepared for nights that stretched endlessly. Pause here. Imagine the cave's mouth sealed against wind. Large stones are rolled to narrow the gap, branches pressed into cracks, hides stretched and pinned to keep frost out. The entrance still breathes, faint air moving in and out, but the roar of blizzard is muted, its bite softened. Inside, the cave glows faintly with reflected firelight, shadows steady, silence deeper. The floor is not left bare either. Grass is gathered in summer, dried, spread across stone. Over it, skins of animals are laid: deer, bison, bear, furs thick enough to soften hardness, warm enough to hold heat. The smell of fur lingers, musky, earthy, mixed with smoke. Children curl on it, their faces pressed against softness, their breaths rising in mist. Mothers lie beside them, pulling skins close, their hands smoothing edges. Hunters rest at the outer edges, closer to fire, closer to entrance. The cave is arranged, not randomly, but carefully ordered, born of survival. And so, the night becomes a cocoon: stone above, stone around, hides below, fire within, bodies together. Outside, snow falls heavy, branches crack in frost, wolves cry into emptiness. But inside, warmth gathers, silence steadies, dreams drift. Pause again. Picture lying on such a bed. The fur beneath you is coarse, its hairs prickling, but its thickness warms you. Your head rests on a bundle of grass, faintly fragrant, still, though brittle with age. The fire glows ahead, its warmth brushing your face. Above, stone arches like a dome, shadows dancing across its surface. Around you, the breaths of others rise and fall. You close your eyes. The silence folds in, folds in. Archaeological traces whisper these details: layers of grasses pressed into cave floors, mats blackened with soot, furs preserved in ice. They tell of lives not bare, but prepared. Early humans learned to gather in seasons of plenty what would save them in seasons of cold. They carried hides from hunts, dried reeds from rivers, branches from forests. The cave was not only refuge, but shaped into dwelling. If you're still listening, notice how slowly the cave breathes with you. Warmth pressing outward, silence folding inward, time drifting softer. You don't need to remember each artifact, each layer. Let them pass like smoke rise into stone. The hides themselves carried stories. Each fur once belonged to a beast, hunted with risk, chased across snow, brought down with stone or spear. To sleep beneath its skin was to claim its strength, its warmth, its life. A child wrapped in wolf fur slept under the breath of the very animal that once prowled the forest. A mother, tucked into bear skin, slept in the shadow of what once was a threat. The shelter was not only physical, it was memory woven into fabric. And so, the cocoon was layered with meaning. Stone gave structure, fur gave warmth, fire gave life, and together they gave more than survival. They gave reassurance, enough for eyes to close, for dreams to come, for morning to be reached. Pause. Once more. Imagine the storm outside rising. Snow lashes against stone. Wind howls through trees. Branches snap under frost. But here, inside, the cave glows, The hides hold warmth. The fire hums steady. You pull the fur closer, press deeper into the mat. Feel warmth hold you like arms. The storm is there, but it cannot touch you. The cave itself was chosen with care. Not every hollow was safe. Some were too damp, their floors flooded with meltwater. Some too shallow, their mouths open to predators. Some too deep, their air heavy. And still, the chosen caves were high enough to avoid floods, deep enough to hold warmth, narrow enough to guard against beasts. Each one a fortress shaped by stone, softened by human hands. If you're still listening, notice how the choice itself feels slow, deliberate, careful. You don't have to remember each cave's name, each location. Just feel the way stone surrounds you, the way air thickens into safety. The hides and furs were more than bedding. They were clothing too. Cloaks against wind, wrappings for infants, coverings for hunters. But at night, gathered in layers, they became a second skin for the group itself. Shared, swapped, arranged again and again until all were covered. Number 1 slept entirely alone. Warmth was always pooled. Even in silence, even in darkness, togetherness itself was shield. And so, the shelter became more than physical. It was social, emotional, ancestral. To sleep together was to survive together. To wrap a child in fur was to give her tomorrow. To guard the fire at night was to guard not only flame, but the breath of the tribe. Pause again. Picture a mother pulling hide across her child. She leans close, her breath warm against his hair, her hand smoothing the fur. He stirs, sighs, settles. She pulls her own skin tighter, presses closer. Round them, firelight flickers. Hunters shift in sleep. Elders sigh. The cave breathes as one body, one cocoon of warmth. If you're still listening, notice how the silence presses close now, softer than fear, steadier than cold, deeper than hunger. You don't have to recall every material, every tool. Just drift with the warmth as it pools around you. The shelter of stone and hide made possible not only sleep, but dream. Without warmth, the mind cannot wander. Without safety, the eyes cannot close. Coon, stories stirred, visions drifted. Hunters dreamed of the chase, mothers of children grown, elders of ancestors gone. Dreams folded into memory, memory into survival, survival into the next night's fire. Pause once more. Imagine yourself drifting into such a dream. The fire glows, dimmer now, the embers red, the smoke curling thin. Your body is warm beneath fur, your breath steady. Outside, the storm rages still, but here you drift. Shadows move along stone, sparks fade upward. Sleep folds in, dream carries you, and you are left with a question. Soft as fur, drifting as smoke. Was it the fire that gave the warmest sleep, or the cocoon of stone and hide, the shelter shaped by hands? The closeness of those who survived, together. Asterisk, the fire glowed, the hides wrapped, the stone walls held firm. Yet, even with all of this, warmth alone could not always conquer winter's bite. There was one more shelter, one more shield, one more cocoon against the long freeze, the warmth of bodies pressed together. Not fire, not fur, not stone, but the closeness of human breath, the press of skin, the rhythm of hearts beating side by side. Pause here. Imagine lying on a bed of hides, the fur thick beneath you, the fire glowing faintly at your feet. Beside you, another body shifts closer. A shoulder presses against yours, an arm brushes your side, breath warms your cheek. At first, it is small, comfort, as the night deepens, as frost thickens on stone. The warmth of one body, joined with another, becomes shield, becomes cocoon. Layer by layer, person by person, warmth gathers until the cold cannot reach. This instinct is not new, nor forgotten. Even animals curl together in dens. Even birds huddle in branches. The humans, watching wolves in their dens, bison pressed in herds, must have felt the same pull. Alone, the cold pierced skin. Together, it softened. Lone, the night was endless. Together, it became endurable. And so, families slept, pressed close. Mothers curled around children. Hunters stretched against one another. Elders folded into the center where heat was strongest. The strongest lay at the edges, guarding, warming. The youngest and frailest lay at the heart, shielded by warmth on every side. Sleep was not individual. It was shared, communal, woven from many bodies, breathing as one. Pause again. Picture the cave as a great circle. At its center, embers glow faintly. Round it, hides are spread, bodies pressed close, forming another circle. At the very heart, children sleep, their breath soft. Around them, mothers and fathers, round them still, hunters and elders. The cave is layered like fur itself, each circle of warmth protecting the next. If you're still listening, notice how slowly the circle breathes. Each chest rising, each sigh fading, each pause lengthening. You don't need to remember each roll, each name. Just drift with the rhythm, steady as heartbeat. The warmth of bodies was more than heat, it was reassurance. To feel another's breath beside you was to know you were not alone. To know that, when the storm howled outside, someone still stirred beside you. To press against another was to feel belonging, to feel shielded, to feel safe enough to close your eyes. Archaeologists trace this closeness in the way remains are sometimes found. Groups buried together, their bones intermingled, their lives once intertwined. The marks of shared survival are etched not only in artifacts, but in the very arrangement of bodies. And so, warmth became more than physical. It was trust, it was care, it was memory. A child pressing close to her mother learned that warmth came with love. A hunter leaning against another learned that survival was shared. An elder lying at the center learned that even in weakness, warmth was given. Pause once more. Imagine the sounds of such a night. The crackle of fire faint, the howl of wind muted, the sighs and breaths of many bodies steady. Someone coughs, another shifts, another stirs and feeds the fire. Then stillness returns, breaths settle, silence folds in again. The cave hums with the rhythm of many as one. If you're still listening, notice how even now your breath seems to join theirs, slower, deeper, softer. You don't have to follow each detail, just let your own rhythm blend with theirs. The warmth of bodies shaped sleep into watches. Not all slept deeply at once. One stirred, fed fire, listened to night. Another lay restless, watching shadows. Another drifted into dream. Sleep was not linear, but woven like threads of a net. The circle held because each thread, in turn, bore weight. And so, the night passed. Storm outside might rage, but within the circle, warmth endured. Fire crackled, hides shielded, bodies pressed close, breaths steady. Pause again. Picture dawn returning. The cave's mouth glows pale. Snow drifts outside. Wind stills slightly. Inside, bodies stir. Children stretch. Hunters rise. Elders cough and sigh. The fire is embers now, but warmth lingers, not only in stone, not only in hides, not only in fire, but in memory of shared breath. And you are left with the question drifting softly, like breath into cold air. Was it the fire that gave cavemen the warmest sleep? Or was it the warmth of bodies pressed together, hearts beating side by side, silence shared until morning came? Asterisk, the cave was not always enough. Some winters came, when caves were scarce, when valleys offered only shallow hollows, when storms pressed harder than stone alone could shield. And so, early humans began to build their own shelters, shaping branches, hides, and earth into huts that became cocoons against the cold. Pause here. Imagine a clearing in deep forest. Snow has drifted high, bending trees, burying paths. In the center, a circle of huts rises, their frames of wood lashed with sinew, their walls layered thick with hides, their roofs pressed down with snow itself for insulation. Smoke curls faintly from holes at the top, twisting upward into a gray sky. The huts huddle close together, like a second tribe built of wood and hide. Each one a small cave made by hand. Inside, fire glows. The walls smell of leather and resin, of smoke soaked deep into hide. The floor is soft with grasses gathered in warmer months, now brittle, crackling faintly under steps. Furs hanged across the entrance, heavy enough to block. The wind, thin enough to breathe. Then families curl, fire flickers, silence deepens. And so, the hut became not just shelter, but invention. The first sign that survival could be shaped, not only found. Pause again. Picture yourself ducking through such an entrance. The flap of hide brushes your face. The air within shifts, colder near the entrance, warmer at the core. The fire glows at center, small but steady, its smoke slipping upward into the hole. Above, around it, bodies gather, fur draped across shoulders, eyes glinting in firelight. The outside storm is muted, a distant howl. The hut itself breathes slower, softer, like a heart inside snow. Archaeologists have found circles of mammoth bones, their tusks arranged into walls, hides stretched across them, fire pits at the center, in frozen earth of Ukraine and Russia, in plains where mammoth once roamed. Humans used bone itself to build their shelters, hides to cover them, fire to warm them. These were not random piles, but careful designs, walls curved to block wind, entrances angled away from storms, floors padded with grasses. The huts were not only homes, but warmth made visible. If you're still listening, notice how invention itself seems to move slowly here. Okay, from cave to hut, from stone to wood, from chance to choice. You don't need to remember each site, each discovery. Let them drift like embers carried upward. The huts were arranged in circles, villages forming like constellations against white earth. Each hut glowed faintly at night, smoke rising, sparks drifting. Between them, paths were carved into snow by many feet, connecting fire to fire, family to family. The village itself became one larger cocoon, its huts like cells in a hive, its warmth shared across the whole. And so, the winter night was not endured alone, nor even as one family, but as many together. The sound of children laughing carried from one hut to the next. The smell of smoke from one fire mingled with another. Howls of wolves were answered by the crackle of many flames, the breath of many sleepers. Pause once more. Imagine standing at the edge of such a village at night. Snow drifts high, stars glimmer faint. The air is sharp and cold. Before you, huts rise dark against pale ground, their smoke curling upward, their fires glowing through gaps in hide. The air smells of burning pine, of fur, of earth. You hear faint voices, soft laughter, then silence as the huts fold into sleep. The huts themselves were layered in cleverness. Thick hides lined inside with grass trapped warmth. Trusses were dug lower than the floor, so cold air sank and stayed below while warmth pooled above. Snow pressed against walls became insulation, turning enemy into shield. Each detail, each layer, each choice was survival, learned and passed on. And so, sleep became steadier, dreams deeper. For the first time, perhaps, nights were less a battle and more a rhythm. Warmth lasted longer, silence held firmer, families woke less often to feed fire. The hut was not just shelter, but trust. Pause again. Picture lying inside one of these shelters. The fire glows, the hides block wind, The floor is soft with dried grass. Around you, bodies curl close, their breaths steady. Above you, smoke twists upward, slipping through a small hole, 2 stars. You close your eyes. Storm outside is no longer your storm. If you're still listening, notice how slowly the hut breathes, the fire steady, the walls muffling, the silence folding. You don't need to follow each method, each design. Just let the warmth drift over you like fur. The invention of huts marked more than survival. It marked belonging to place. Caves were chance. Huts were choice. To build was to claim. To remain, to say, this ground is ours. This warmth is ours. This sleep is ours. The winter night became less endless, more endurable. And so, the story of warmth shifted. It's no longer only found in the hollow of stone. It was now made by hand, carried in memory, shared in skill. Pause once more. Imagine dawn breaking across such a village. Smoke still curls from roofs. Snow still presses against walls. Families stir within. Children yawn. Hunters rise. Fires are stoked again. Furs pulled tighter. Outside, frost glitters pale. The world still frozen. But inside, the huts hum with warmth. The echo of sleep still soft. And you are left with a question that drifts like smoke above bone and hide. Was it the fire at the center, the hides at the walls, or the hands that built them that gave cavemen the warmest sleep when winter pressed hardest? Asterisk, the fire glowed in caves, the hides wrapped thick in forest huts, but across wide plains where trees were scarce and storms pressed endlessly, survival demanded other forms. When branches were few, when stone was far, early humans turned to what the land gave most, bone and snow. Pause here. Imagine a step under a pale sky, stretching wide and empty, wind sweeping across it like a river of ice. No forest rises, no cave opens, no branches lie waiting, but there, half buried in frost, lie the great bones of mammoth tusks, curved like arcs of the sky, ribs long as rafters, skulls heavy as stone. To some, they were remains. To others, they became walls. You see them now, arranged in circle. Tusks arched upward to form doorway. Ribs leaned inward to meet. Skulls placed at base to anchor. Across them, hides are stretched, thick and heavy, stitched with sinew, pressed with clay. Round them, snow is packed high, sealing cracks, binding structure. Within, fire burns low. The hut of bone and snow glows faintly, its breath rising in smoke. And so, survival is shaped from what death leaves behind. The mammoth gives not only meat, not only hide, but shelter itself. Its bones, once pillars of life, become rafters of warmth. Pause again. Picture stepping into such a hut. The entrance is low, the height heavy as you push through. Inside, air is warmer, stiller, thick with smoke and musk. The fire glows at center, smoke drifting upward through cracks between tusks. Furs line the floor. Children curl in corners. Hunters stretch near entrance. The walls curve inward. Ribs forming dome, hides making skin, snow pressing against outside. The hut breathes like a body, each creak of hide like muscle, each drip of meltwater like sweat. Archaeologists find these huts still, their bones arranged, their circles clear. In places like Mazarek in Ukraine, mammoth-boned houses remain, structures of ivory and tusk, their size immense, their purpose unmistakable. Each circle of bone marks not just shelter, but winter endured. If you're still listening, notice how slowly invention seems to unfold. From stone caves to bone huts, from chance shelter to crafted dwelling. You don't need to remember each site, each dig. Let them drift like snowflakes across a plain. Snow itself was tool as well as threat, pressed high against walls. It insulated, dug deep into drifts, It's sheltered. We humans carved hollows into snowbanks, lined them with hides, lit small fires inside. The snow, instead of enemy, became shield. Tease, silence, muffled sound. Its stillness held warmth. To sleep inside, snow was to rest within silence itself. And so, the land provided both wound and palm. What froze also warmed. What threatened also sheltered. The plain that seemed empty offered bones and snow, enough to cradle a family through the night. Pause once more. Imagine lying inside such a snow hut. The walls glow faintly, light seeping through packed white. The fire burns small, its smoke curling into air, absorbed by snow itself. The air is still, sound muffled, silence heavier than stone. Around you, fur softens floor, warmth presses close. Outside, the wind howls. Inside, it does not reach. The mammoth bone huts were not small shelters, but true dwellings. Some measured 6 meters across, large enough for many families. Fireplaces built of stone or bone sat at center. Hearths blackened with years of ash. Tools, beads, carvings were found within, proof that these were not only shelters, but homes. In them, humans slept, dreamed, told stories, remembered. If you're still listening, notice how the hut grows larger in your mind. No longer just bone, no longer just snow, but memory itself pressed into form. You don't need to hold each measurement, each layer. Let the structure rise like breath, slow and steady. The sound within such huts was different too. No echo of stone, no drip of cave, Instead, the creak of hide and wind, the crackle of fire, the muffled hush of snow. Silence was heavier, softer, deeper. Sleep within was not absolute. Someone always stirred, someone always fed fire, but it was steadier than an open plain, safer than under stars. And so, the winter night passed, not in comfort, but in cocoon. Hide, shielded, snow hushed. The cold pressed outside, but warmth pooled inside. Families endured, children dreamed, hunters rested. Pause again, picture dawn over such a plain. The snow glows pale, the huts rise like domes, smoke curling upward into gray sky. Inside, embers glow, faintly, bodies stir. The night is past, the shelter has held, and you are left with a question drifting softly, like smoke rising from bone. Was it the fire within, the hides across, or the bones themselves that gave the warmest sleep? Or was it the silence of snow, the hush of winter? Turned to shield. The fire glowed in caves. The hides stretched across huts. The bones of mammoth rose into domes. Yet, for some of the earliest humans, survival was carved directly into the ground. When storms raged too fiercely, when forests offered no cover, when plains stretched bare, they turned to earth itself, digging, hollowing, shaping soil into shelter. Pause here. Imagine a windswept steppe in midwinter. Snow lies thick, the wind whips across it. The sky is heavy with gray. No caves rise from stone, no huts stand on plain, no bones are near. But a hollow in the ground opens a pit, dug carefully, its walls lined with clay, its roof built from branches and earth pressed heavy above. From the surface, it looks like nothing, just mound, snowdrift, silence. But within, a glow burns faintly. You lower yourself inside. The entrance is narrow, angled against the wind, covered with hide. As you descend, the air grows stiller, warmer, darker. The pit widens below, its floor spread with grass, its walls packed firm with earth. In the center, a fire glows small but steady, its smoke slipping upward through a vent pressed in roof. Around it, bodies curl in fur, their breaths slow, their eyes closed. Storm outside howls, but here, earth itself holds silence. And so, the ground became womb. To dig was to hide, to burrow, to return to soil for protection. The earth, which seemed indifferent in summer, became savior in winter. Pause again. Picture lying inside this shelter. The walls are rough, but warm. Earth pressed firm. Clay holding heat. Snow above insulating. The fire flickers faintly. The floor is soft with reeds. The air smells of smoke and damp soil, of hides stretched across roof, of sweat from bodies pressed close. Silence is thick, muffled by layers of earth. You feel safe, as if swallowed by ground itself. Archaeological sites whispered this memory. In Siberia, in the plains of Eastern Europe, in frozen steppes, pits have been found lined with stone, packed with clay, roofed with branches and earth. These were not caves made by chance, but shelters made by hand. They carried the same rhythm. Entrance low and narrow, floor spread with furs, hearth at center, smoke vent at top. They were homes built into earth itself. If you're still listening, notice how the silence of soil feels deeper now. Heavier than stone, steadier than snow. You don't need to recall each layer, each site. Let the weight of earth itself carry you. The shelters were not large, but they were enough. One family, maybe two, curled inside. Heat pooled, air stayed steady, fire burned long, and children grew through winters that might have otherwise ended them. The ground itself cradled life, and so the earth became blanket, cave, skin. To burrow was to live, to shape soil was to endure, to sleep inside ground was to greet morning. Pause once more. Imagine the sounds inside. It's a crackle of fire faint, the muffled hush of wind above, the creak of branches holding roof. Breaths, steady, sighs sought, silence folding. You drift. The idea of burrowing echoed even beyond human shelter. Servers of animals, foxes curling in dens, bears sleeping in caves, rabbits tucked into earth, must have seen wisdom in their ways. To live was to mimic. To sleep warm was to follow the burrower, the hibernator, the hidden. If you're still listening, notice how rhythm itself slows, human and animal alike, bound by winter's weight, by instinct to burrow, by silence of soil. You don't need to follow each species, each example. Just let the image of den and hearth merge. The act of digging was work itself. Men cut through frozen earth with bone and stone. Women lined walls with clay. Children gathered reeds. The pit grew deeper, wider, safer. Each winter repeated the rhythm. Each shelter reused or rebuilt. Generation inherited the memory of digging, the knowledge of turning soil into shield. And so, survival became tradition. A pit was not only hole, a lesson. It carried knowledge of hands, memory of ancestors, promise of tomorrow. Pause again. Can picture dawn rising above such a shelter. From the surface, only smoke shows a thin trail curling into gray sky. The mound looks like drift, the entrance like shadow. But within, fire glows, bodies stir, silence holds. The earth itself has given sleep, has given warmth, has given another day, and you were left with a question that drifts like breath, rising into cold air. Was it the fire that gave the warmest sleep, or was it the earth itself cradling bodies in soil, holding silence until morning? Asterisk, the huts stood, the caves glowed, the earth held silence. Yet there was one more warmth, one more shield, one more rhythm of survival. The warmth of bodies pressed close together. No structure of stone, no dome of bone, no pit of earth could truly stand against winter without this. The closeness of many, the trust of breath shared, the circle of heat that turned night into morning. Pause here. Imagine the fire dimming at the heart of a shelter. The wood is low, the flames smaller now. Beyond its glow, shadows deepen. Frost presses close, but bodies shift, curl nearer. Shoulders brush shoulders, arms stretch across fur. Legs overlap. Slowly, warmth gathers again, not from flame, but from flesh. Breath rises into air, mingling, warming it, thickening it. The night is long, but the circle holds. You feel it now, the press of another's arm, the rhythm of another's chest, the warmth of a child's body tucked into your side. Alone, you would shiver. Together, you were shielded. The cold still breathes at the walls, but it cannot pass the circle. And so, the body itself became fire. Pause again. Picture the cave arranged in layers. At the center, children sleep, small, bodies curled into one another. Round them, mothers and elders, their arms stretching across, their hands smoothing hides. At the outer edge, hunters, their backs against cold, their faces toward flame. The circle is arranged not by chance, but by instinct, by rhythm, by care. Heat is conserved, guarded, given where most needed. If you're still listening, notice how the circle breathes as one, each chest rising, each sigh falling, each pause lengthening. You don't need to recall each roll, each order, just drift with the rhythm of many as one. Archaeologists trace this rhythm in hearth sites, multiple nests of ash, furs pressed into soil in overlapping circles, bones scattered or groups, slept together. They tell the families not spread apart, but gathered in close warmth. The marks left behind are not only of fire, but of bodies curled together, of sleep shared. And so, survival was not solitary. It was communal, woven, braided, into breath and skin. Pause once more. Imagine lying in such a circle, your body pressed against another, their warmth seeping into you, your own warmth into them. Above, smoke curls into rafters of hide or stone. Ground, fur softens floor. The silence is steady, broken only by sighs, by soft coughs, by fire's hiss. Outside, the storm presses still, but within, you were woven into others, animals too slept in circles, wolves in dens, huddled together, bison pressed flank to flank in snow, birds tucked wing against wing. Early humans saw and followed. Instinct guided them. Memory taught them. Survival was closeness. The lone froze. The group endured. If you're still listening, notice how slowly instinct itself moves, ancient, steady, the same rhythm in animal and human alike. You don't need to follow each species, each den. Just let the closeness itself carry you. The warmth of shared bodies was not only for comfort, it was trust. To sleep with another pressed close was to surrender fear, to allow breath to mingle, to rest in rhythm together. Trust built warmth, warmth built survival, and so, tribes slept not only as families, but as one body. The circle of heat was the circle of belonging. To lie within it was to be held. To lie outside was to be apart. To risk cold, to risk death. Sleep itself became social, became bond. Pause again. Picture a child stirring in the night. He shivers, shifts closer to his mother. She pulls him tighter, her arm heavy across him. Her warmth steadies, his body softens. He drifts again. Around them, hunters stir, elders sigh. The circle breathes. The night continues. If you're still listening, notice how your own body softens at the thought. The instinct to press close, to find warmth, to surrender into shared breath. You don't have to recall each excavation, each hearth. Just drift with the circle itself. Even in watchfulness, closeness remained. One might sit awake, feeding fire, listening to night. Yet even then, he leaned against another, or another. Against him, warmth exchanged in silence. Wakefulness itself was softened by breath beside. And so, night was not endured alone. Each body lent heat. Each body received heat. The cold pressed, but together, Warmth pooled, and morning came. Pause. Once more. Imagine dawn, returning to such a circle. The fire is embers now, the hides heavy with dew, the air thick with smoke. Bodies stir, stretch, sigh. Children yawn, mothers rise, hunters sit and feed embers. The storm outside has passed, snow still deep, frost still heavy, but the circle has held, warmth has endured, and you are left with a reflection drifting softly, like breath into cold air. Was it fire that kept them warmest? Or was it the circle of bodies, the rhythm of trust, the belonging that turned freezing nights into mornings of life? Mornings of life. The fire glowed, the hides covered, the circle of bodies pressed close. Yet warmth was not only in touch, not only in skin and fur, but in something lighter, something unseen, the breath of many. Each exhale warmed the air, each sigh thickened it, each lung's rhythm turned cold into heat. Over hours, over nights, a cave or a hut filled not only with smoke, but with breath, invisible, steady, pooling around sleepers like another blanket. Pause here. Imagine yourself within a low hut. The walls are hides stretched across bone, pressed down with snow. The fire glows faintly, its smoke drifting upward through a vent. Around you, bodies are curled together, their faces pressed into fur. You hear it now, the slow rise and fall of many chests, the sound of many breaths mingling. Each exhale is warm, misting in faint light. Slowly, the air thickens. It is not sharp anymore, not biting. It carries warmth now, soft and heavy, wrapping itself around the circle. You feel your own breath join theirs. Your exhale leaves your lips warm, soft, steady. Someone else breathes, and you inhaled their warmth. The air itself becomes shared, pooled, protective, and so, breath itself became shield. Pause again. Picture how the walls of the hut drip faintly where warmth meets frost. Ice softens into water, smoke curls into dampness, breath presses against hide. The shelter becomes not only space of stone or bone, but vessel filled with life's own warmth. Without words, without effort, survival is exhaled, inhaled, exchanged again and again. If you're still listening, notice how even your own breathing slows now. The rise, the fall, the pause, the softness of air. You don't need to remember each detail, each example. Just drift with the rhythm of breath itself. Archaeologists trace this in layers of soot and dampness, in shelters blackened not only by fire but by moisture of many bodies breathing within. They find walls darkened, ceilings wet, floors layered with ash and reed, pressed by feet and breath. The air was not clean, but it was warm. For those who endured, warmth mattered more than clarity, and so sleep became shared, not only in touch, but in atmosphere. To lie within the circle was to lie within a cocoon of air, warmed by many lungs, thickened by many sighs. Kata, pause, was to survive together. Pause once more. Kata, imagine a mother leaning over her child. She breathes warmth onto his face, her hand pressing fur tighter. He stirs, sighs, drifts again. Her breath is shield as much as fire, her exhale as steady as any hide. Breath itself became ritual. In some groups, the fire was kept small at night to save fuel, to avoid smoke. Warmth then came mostly from bodies and air. The hut grew thick with breath. The cold stayed pressed outside. Sleep was heavy, dreams deeper, air itself the blanket. If you're still listening, notice how slowly time folds here. Each sigh a marker, each pause a rhythm, each hour a weaving of many breaths. You don't have to recall each sight, each hearth. Let the breath itself carry you deeper. In larger shelters, the breath of many made the space heavy, damp, close. Yet, this closeness itself was survival. The air may have been thick, smoky, musky, but it was warm. To leave the hut, even for a moment, was to feel the shock of sharp air on skin, the bite of frost in lungs. To return was to feel relief, to sink back into air warmed by others. And so, memory itself grew tied to breath. The smell of fur, the damp of walls, the haze of smoke, all mingled with the breath of family, of tribe. To recall safety was to recall not silence alone, but the steady rhythm of many sighs in dark. Pause again. Picture waking in the middle of night. The fire glows dim, embers red. The hut is dark, air thick. Around you, many breaths rise and fall, overlapping, weaving. You listen, inhale, exhale, sigh, cough, stir. Each sound is soft, steady, familiar. You close your eyes again. The rhythm lulls you. The breath itself holds you. If you're still listening, notice how your own breath matches theirs now. Slower, deeper, softer. You don't need to hold each fact, each artifact. Just let breath itself be your rhythm. Even predators outside must have sensed it. The musk of many, the breath of many, and kept their distance or circled warily. The hut smelled of life, of warmth, of closeness. To those within, it was shield. To those without, it was barrier. Breath made presence. Presence made safety. And so, the unseen became shield as strong as stone. Pause once more. Imagine dawn pressing against snow. The vent above glows pale, smoke slipping upward. Inside, breaths still rise and fall, steady, pooled. The fire stirs faintly, embers glowing. The storm outside softens, wind slows. Inside, breath still holds, warmth still lingers, and you are left with a question, drifting like mist into morning. Was it fire that gave the warmest sleep? Or was it breath itself, shared, pooled, mingled, that turned freezing nights into dawns of survival? Asterisk, the fire glowed, the hides covered, the circle of bodies pressed close, the air heavy with shared breath. Yet even in this cocoon, sleep was never fully unbroken. Not all closed their eyes at once. Not all surrendered to dream. Some remained half awake, stirring, listening, watching. In every group, there were watchers of the night. Those who tended embers, who heard the crack of branch outside, who kept silence from breaking into danger. Pause here. Imagine the circle in darkness. Most lie, curled breaths steady. There, bodies pressed close. Children sigh softly. Mothers stretch arms across them. Elders lie with hands folded. But near the fire, one figure stirs. He leans forward, places a stick on embers, watches the flame flare faintly. Eyes glow in firelight. His ears turned outward toward the cave mouth. He listens to wind, to wolves, to silence. His body is weary, but he does not drift. He is thread that holds circle through night. You hear his breath, slower, steadier, different from the sleepers. You see his hands move quietly, feeding fire, adjusting hides. His task is simple, but it is survival. Without him, the fire might fade, the cold might press in, the night might break. And so, sleep was woven with wakefulness. Pause again. Picture the rhythm of such nights. One stirs, one wakes, one watches, one sleeps. Later, another rises, feeds fire, listens, waits, then another, then another. No one keeps watch all night alone. Each in turn bears the silence. Each in turn holds the fire. The circle of heat is not only bodies, but duties shared. If you're still listening, notice how the rhythm folds longer now. Sleep, wake, tend, dream, wake again. You don't need to recall each roll, each shift. Just drift with the weaving of silence into night. Archaeologists find evidence of this in layers of ash that show fires never truly died, in embers stoked again and again. The hearth was never abandoned. Someone always fed it, always stirred it, always tended it. Without this, mornings might never have come. And so, fire became not only warmth, but task, duty, ritual. To tend, it was to protect all, to guard sleepers, to keep circle whole. Pause once more. Imagine the sound of fire stirred at midnight. A stick cracks, embers hiss, sparks rise. The sleepers shift faintly, but do not wake. The watcher settles again, eyes fixed on the flame. Outside, wind presses, snow against walls. Wolves howl, faint in distance. Inside, silence folds again. The watchers of the night did more than feed fire. They listened for predators, for storm, for danger. Their ears marked what sleepers missed: the crunch of snow, the echo of paw, the break of branch. Most nights passed with only silence, but the act of listening itself was shield enough. It's reassurance for the group that sleep was safe. If you're still listening, notice how listening itself feels slower now. No words, only waiting, only silence stretched into ours. You don't need to recall each predator, each danger. Let the act of listening itself drift into stillness. Sometimes watchers dozed, heads nodding, bodies swaying. But even then, others stirred, others rose. The circle did not break. The burden did not rest on one, but on many. The night belonged not to the strongest, but to the watch shared. And so, the rhythm of sleep was not deep, unbroken slumber, but woven fabric, strands of waking, strands of dreaming, strands of tending fire, strands of listening. Together, they made night survivable. Pause again. Kitchen dawn, coming slowly. The fire still glows, fed through hours. The last watcher sits drowsy, his head heavy, his eyes half closed. Pati has held the fire, tended the silence, carried the night to morning. The sleepers stir, stretch, sigh. Children yawn, hunters rise. The watcher closes his eyes at last. If you're still listening, notice how time itself feels stretched here. It's night becoming morning, morning returning to night. You don't need to hold each detail. Just let the rhythm itself carry you. The role of watchers may have shaped more than nights. It may have shaped trust, bond, duty. To watch was to serve, to hold life for others, to lend your wakefulness to their dreams. To sleep was to trust another to hold you safe. This weaving of trust, again and again, may have shaped the very fabric of what it meant to live together. And so, sleep itself became communal bond, not only physical, but social. Warmth was shared, breath was shared, and wakefulness itself was shared. Pause once more. Imagine yourself in that circle, your eyes half closed, your body heavy with sleep. You know someone else is watching, tending fire, listening to night. And so, you allow yourself to drift deeper, to dream longer, to rest. Your trust is warmth, as much as fur, as much as fire, as much as fire. And you are left with a reflection drifting softly, like smoke above embers. Was it the fire that gave cavemen the warmest sleep? Or was it the watchers of the night, the rhythm of trust, the quiet duty that turned darkness into shelter? Asterisk. Fire glows steady, the hides hold warmth, the circle of bodies breathes as one. Yet cavemen's sleep was not the unbroken stretch that we imagine now. In the long winters, when nights stretched for endless hours, slumber often came in pieces, in rhythms shaped by darkness and fire. There was first sleep, deep and heavy, then waking in the middle, a time of watching, of tending, of listening. And then second sleep, softer, dream-filled, carrying them into dawn. Pause here. Imagine lying on fur beneath firelight. Your eyes close, your body heavy. Sleep pulls you under. Hours pass in silence, in dreams. Then, slowly, you stir. Your eyes blink open. The fire glows dim. The cave is hushed. Some are still asleep, curled close, breathing steady. But others stir too. One rises, feeds fire. Another whispers softly. The night is not yet over, but first sleep has ended. You feel this strange calm of waking in the middle of darkness. The storm still howls outside, but here it is quiet. You stretch, you sigh, you sit a while, staring at embers. Time feels slower, heavier, stretched across silence. After a while, you curl again, close your eyes, drift back. This second sleep is lighter, filled with longer dreams, with softer breaths, with the glow of dawn waiting faint beyond cave's mouth. And so, the night was not one river of sleep, but two streams, flowing with pause between. Pause again. Picture the circles shifting with this rhythm. Children wake and whisper, then settle again. Mothers rise to adjust hides, to soothe, to feed fire. Hunters stretch, watch shadows, then return to rest. The pause in the middle is not disruption, but part of the rhythm itself. First sleep, waking, second sleep. If you're still listening, notice how rhythm itself feels softer now. Not one stretch, but waves. Not single silence, but many pauses. You don't need to remember each study, each theory. Just drift with the ebb and flow of night itself. Evidence of segmented sleep lingers in old texts, in medieval records of first sleep and second sleep, in anthropological accounts of traditional peoples still sleeping this way. For cavemen, in winters, when nights stretched 12 hours or more, it was natural. Fire needed tending, predators needed watching, breath needed sharing. Waking in middle was not failure, but necessity. And so, sleep itself was shared not only among bodies, but among ours. Pause once more. Imagine waking in that middle night. The fire is embers now, red and soft. The air is thick with smoke and breath. You hear the hush of silence, broken by cough, by sigh, by crack of branch outside. You sit, watch shadows, feel warmth on your face. The moment is strange, heavy, quiet. Then, slowly, you lie again. Press close, close your eyes. This rhythm shaped dreams too. The first sleep was heavy, body sinking deep, mind quiet. The second was lighter, filled with visions, with story, with memory. Perhaps here were dreams of hunt, of ancestors, of spirits, king. Perhaps here was the seed of story itself. It's born from long second sleeps filled with images. If you're still listening, notice how dreams themselves drift softly now. Heavy at first, lighter after, both part of same river. You don't need to hold each vision. Let them pass like sparks fading upward. The watches of the night fit into this rhythm. When some stirred, they fed fire. They listened. They kept silence safe. The pause between sleeps became time for duty, for care. The rhythm itself wove survival into dream. And so, cavemen's sleep was not fragile, but fluid. Bend to night, to fire, to breath. It was not one silence, but many. Pause again. Picture dawn coming after such a night. The fire still glows. The hides still hold warmth. The circle stirs. Children yawn. Mothers stretch. Hunters rise. They have not slept in one stretch, but in two, and yet they rise ready, their bodies held by rhythm. Their warmth carried across hours, and you are left with a reflection, drifting like mist into pale light. Was it fire? Was it fur? Was it breath? Or was it rhythm itself? The pause and return, the first and second sleep that gave cavemen their warmest rest in winters that seemed endless. Asterisk, the fire glows at the center. Hides are pulled close. Breath fills the hut with warmth. The circle curls in layers. Yet even as sleep holds most, not all sink fully into dream. Some hover at the edge of waking, bodies heavy, eyes half closed. but ears open, minds alert. They are the watchers. Others sink deeply into vision, their minds wandering beyond cave walls, beyond winter itself. They are the dreamers. Between them, night becomes more than silence. It becomes rhythm, woven of wakefulness and vision, duty and dream. Pause here. Imagine yourself lying among them, round you. Bodies breathe steady. Warmth pressing close. Sapphire crackles, faint, its embers glowing red. Beyond the walls, the wind howls, snow presses. Yet you hear other sounds too. The rustle of a hide, shifted, the soft step of someone tending fire. A cough, a sigh, a whisper. Sleep is not absolute. The night is divided. Some rest fully, some guard, some drift between. You hear the watchers breathe differently, slower, deeper, but not quite lost. Their ears tilt toward entrance, their hands rest near embers. They are not awake enough to speak, yet not asleep enough to dream. They are the bridge that holds silence. And so, the group is never unguarded, never wholly surrendered to dark. Pause again. Picture a hunter rising in half sleep. He stirs embers with a stick, lays a log across, watches sparks rise. His face glows, his eyes half open. Then he lies again, his body folding into warmth, his breath joining the others. Later, another rises. Later still, another. The fire is fed not by one, but by many, woven into rhythm of half sleep. If you're still listening, notice how the rhythm itself feels slower. Now, not fully wake, not fully dream, but drifting between. You don't need to recall each watcher, each stir. Let the half sleep itself carry you. The dreamers drift elsewhere. In second sleep, especially, their minds wander. They dream of animals, hunted, of ancestors lost, of landscapes unseen. They dream of fire turned to river, of shadows turned to spirits. Their breath quickens, their limbs twitch. The watchers notice, but do not wake them. Dreams, too, are part of survival. Visions that guide, stories that bind, fears that warn. And so, sleep becomes more than rest. It becomes teacher, whisper, mirror. Pause once more. Imagine a child dreaming. He stirs. His mouth whispers faintly, his body twitching. His mother presses closer, her hand smoothing his hair. He sighs, drifts again. In morning, he may tell of a great beast, of a fire that spoke, of a shadow that moved. The tribe may listen, may nod, may weave it into story. Dreams become more than private. They become shared, shaping memory, shaping meaning than watchers to dream. Though their dreams are lighter, they drift in fragments, in images half seen. They wake often, stirred by crackle, by howl, by silence. They dream not of visions, but of listening. Their rest is thinner, but their duty is heavier. If you're still listening, notice how duty itself feels softer now. It's not command, not burden, but rhythm. Each in turn, holding silence. Each in turn, lending eyes and ears. You don't need to remember each watch. Let the rhythm itself soothe you. Archaeologists find traces in fire pits that burned without pause. In layers of ash renewed again and again, in embers tended for centuries. The watchers left no names, no marks, only steady fire, only warmth that reached on. The dreamers left no marks either, except stories whispered to children, visions carved into bone, shadows painted on cave walls. Both roles are quiet, but both shape memory, and so night itself was divided. Watchers awake in half sleep, dreamers lost in vision, sleepers breathing steady. The balance kept group alive, kept fire burning, kept silence whole. Pause again. Picture midnight in such a shelter. The fire glows, the air heavy with smoke and breath. Some lie still, lost in dream. Some stir faintly, tending embers, attaining the silence. Its layered sighs, whispers, crackles, cave stretches, folds, bends. Night does not feel like one thing, but many. If you're still listening, notice how time itself feels slower now, broken into pauses, folded into layers, drifting between dream and duty. You don't need to hold each piece, just let it stretch. The watchers and dreamers may have been seeds of story and ritual. Dreams told in morning became tales. Watches held at night became trust. A child's vision may have been remembered as omen. A hunter's vigilance may have been honored as protection. Slowly, rhythm became culture. Half sleep became bond. And so, winter nights were not only endured, but shaped into memory, into meaning. Pause once more. Imagine dawn after such a night. The fire is low, embers red, smoke thin. Sleepers stir, dreamers blink, watchers sigh with relief. The storm outside softens. The snow glows pale. The group rises, stretching, yawning, their night carried in warmth and trust. In story, and you are left with a reflection drifting softly, like smoke curling upward into gray. Was it the fire that gave the warmest sleep? Or was it the watchers and dreamers? Those who tended silence, those who wove visions, who gave night its rhythm and morning its promise. The fire glows at the center, steady but small. The hides are heavy across shoulders, the circle of bodies pressed close, the air thick with breath. Most lie in silence now, in second sleep, their minds wandering far from cave walls. The watchers stir less often, the embers hold their glow, and night deepens into stillness. In this stillness, dreams rise, soft, heavy, endless. Pause here. Imagine yourself within that silence. Around you, bodies are warm, their chests rising and falling in slow rhythm. Above, smoke drifts lazily, its edges glowing faint in firelight. Outside, the storm has dulled, the wind stilled but softer, snow piled high at cave's mouth. Within, the silence is complete, broken only by breath, by sigh, by the occasional crack of ember. It is in this silence that dreams come. You feel them now, strange images, flickers of memory, of fear, of hope. You dream of animals seen by day, of ancestors remembered by story, of shadows stretched across walls. Some dreams are heavy, like stone. Others drift like smoke, light, faint, already fading as they arrive. And so, dreams themselves become part of survival. Pause again. Picture a child dreaming. He lies curled in fur, his body small, his breath quick, his eyelids twitch, his hands stir. In his mind, he sees great beasts crossing plains, fire spreading against sky, rivers glowing with light. In morning, he may not tell, or he may whisper it. And the tribe may nod, may listen, may fold his dream into story. Dreams in winter are longer. Nights stretch across 12, 13, 14 hours. First sleep heavy, second filled with visions. The fire gives light for shadows to dance, and those shadows shape dream. The silence gives space for memory to stir, and memory shapes dream. Hunger gnaws, fear lingers, hope flickers, all become images. If you're still listening, notice how slowly images drift now. Not sharp, not fixed, but hazy, like sparks rising. You don't need to hold them. Let them fade as quickly as they arrive. Some dreams are shared. More than one may dream of the same beast, the same ancestor, the same shadow. In morning, when fire is fed and snow still lies heavy, they tell one another. They nod, they listen, they weave. Over time, these dreams become more than vision. They become story, myth, memory of things unseen. And so, winter nights may have birthed the first stories. Pause once more. Imagine a group at dawn. The fire is stirred, embers glowing bright again. Around it, children speak of their dreams, mothers murmur, hunters nod. A boy dreams of a bird of fire. An elder dreams of ancestors speaking. A mother dreams of cave filled with light. Their words mingle, their voices low. The fire crackles. Story is born, not of waking, but of dream. Archaeologists trace such beginnings in cave paintings, animals drawn with detail, the reference with vision beyond mere memory. Perhaps these were dreamed before they were drawn. Apps, visions. In winter sleep, guided hand, shaped pigment, carried image to wall. If you're still listening, notice how the silence of dream feels deeper now. Not absence, but echo. You don't need to recall each image, each painting. Let the dream itself drift into shadow. The quiet of winter dreams may have been the cradle of belief. Spirits seen in dream became spirits remembered. Ancestors whispered. In vision became honored. Shadows stretched by fire became figures of mystery. In the long nights, when sleep came twice, when watchers held silence, when fire painted walls, the human mind wandered beyond survival. It dreamed of meaning, and so, winter sleep gave not only warmth, but story. Pause again. Picture yourself drifting into such a dream. The fire glows faint, smoke curls, silence holds. Your body is warm, pressed against others. Your mind wanders. You see shapes and shadows, hear voices in wind, feel ancestors close. You wake for a moment, then drift again. In morning, the dream lingers, softer than fur, lighter than smoke. If you're still listening, notice how your own breath slows, your own body softens, your own thoughts drift. You don't need to follow each vision. Let them pass like sparks, fading into night. Dreams may have given comfort to hunger. They gave images of plenty, pieing, and fear. They gave visions of protection, and loss. They gave memory of the gone. To dream was to endure, to hold hope when waking was hard. Dreams gave warmth that fire alone could not. And so, even silence of winter was filled with unseen light. Pause once more. Imagine dawn pressing faintly against cave's mouth. Snow glows pale. The wind softens. Inside, sleepers stir. Dreamers blink. Watchers sigh. The fire is fed. The day begins. The night has passed not only in warmth, but in visions, in stories, in dreams that carry meaning. And you are left with a reflection drifting softly, like mist over embers. Was it fire? Was it fur? Was it closeness? Or was it dreams themselves? Heavy, strange, shared. They gave cavemen their warmest sleep when winter seemed endless. Asterisk, the fire glows in memory now. The hides have long since rotted. The huts have crumbled. The caves are silent. Yet something of those nights still lingers. Though thousands of years have passed, though cities now rise where forests once spread, though glass and brick now hold the cold outside, the echo of those ancient rhythms remains within us. Somewhere quiet, sleep still carries shadows of the cave. Pause here. Imagine yourself lying in your own room. The walls are painted, the window closed, the blanket heavy. Outside, a city hums faintly, or countryside lies still. Yet, in the silence, in the heaviness before dream, you feel something older. The comfort of blanket feels like hide. The hum of heater feels like fire. The closeness of another beside you feels like warmth of tribe. Survival is no longer at stake, yet the body remembers. You breathe slower. You shift closer to warmth. You close your eyes. And those centuries lie between. The rhythm is the same, and so the past is not gone. The whisper still, quiet, but steady in the way you rest. Pause again. Picture the way you pull blanket tighter when cold presses. Picture how you seek warmth, not only from fire or furnace, but from closeness, curling against another, pressing into shared heat. Picture how, even now, the night feels less lonely when someone else breathes nearby. These are not new instincts. They are echoes, lingering from nights when such closeness was life itself. If you're still listening, notice how slowly the echo itself drifts. Not loud, not sharp, but quiet, soft, beneath thought. You don't need to name it, to analyze it, just let it hum beneath you. Anthropologists say we still carry segmented sleep within. Many wake in the middle of night, then sleep again. Some call it restlessness, some insomnia. Perhaps it is only memory of rhythm. First sleep, waking, second sleep, echoing faint from the cave. When you stir at midnight, when you sit in silence, when you close your eyes again and drift, you repeat what ancestors once did. And so, even modern nights are shaped by ancient winters. Pause once more. Imagine how you feel when firelight flickers, or when candle burns, or when wood smoke drifts faint in air. Something deep within stirs. It is not new. It is not learned. It is remembered. Fire once meant warmth, safety, survival. And now, even if danger is gone, fire still comes. The echo lingers in dreams as well. Shadows on walls still shape images. Stories still fill silence. Visions still drift in night. The cave may be gone, but the mind still paints beasts in shadow, still sees ancestors in dream, still drifts into visions of belonging. If you're still listening, notice how dream itself feels slower now. Not sharp, not modern, but old, heavy, shaped by silence. You don't need to recall each vision. Let them fade as they once did. It's like sparks in cave. Even the way we build homes carries echoes. Rooms are ranged around hearth, families gathered by fire, beds shared by many long before they became separate. All are shadows of older patterns. The heater may replace embers, but its hum is memory of flame. The blanket may replace hides, but its weight recalls fur. The bedroom may replace cave, but its silence recalls stone. And so, modern life is not severed from past. It is layered upon it, shaped by echoes beneath. Pause again. Picture dawn in your own home. The window glows pale. The heater hums. Blanket warms. You stir, you stretch, you rise. Yet the rhythm is same as before. Night passed in warmth. Morning arrives in light. The difference is in material, not in pattern. If you're still listening, notice how your own body feels older than walls around you. It's how instinct itself lingers, how rhythm itself hums beneath. You don't need to hold each explanation. Let the echo itself carry you. The echoes of survival shape trust too. Even now, sleep is easier when not alone. A child presses close to parent. A couple shares warmth beneath blanket. Friends huddle near fire. The instinct is not convenience, but memory, that to be close is to survive. And so, belonging is still warmth. Pause once more. Imagine lying in silence, another's breath beside you. You feel steadier, safer, calmer. It is not reason, not thought. It is instinct. You rest because another rests near. You dream because another watches near. The circle is not gone, only smaller, quieter. The cave, the hut, the pit and ground, they are gone. But their echoes remain, in breath, in warmth, in rhythm, and you are left with a reflection drifting softly. Like warmth lingering after fire fades, when you sleep now. In comfort, in safety, in walls shaped by modern hand, are you not still? Listening to echoes of ancient nights, when fire cracked, when bodies pressed close, when silence itself was survival. The fire is gone now. The huts of hide and bone have sunk back into earth. Yet the body carries memory still, deeper than thought, older than story. In the quiet of night, in the way you stir, in the way you curl closer to warmth, in the way you wake and drift again. Ancient instincts rise, forgotten, yet never lost. Pause here. Imagine yourself lying in your own bed. The room is warm, the blanket heavy, the air still. You close your eyes, you drift. And yet, sometime in the night, you stir, you turn, you shift, you half wake. Perhaps you rise for a moment, perhaps you simply lie awake in silence. You think it restlessness, but the body remembers something older. Remembers first sleep, second sleep, the watchers who fed fire, the dreamers who stirred between. And so, even now, your nights echo with ancient rhythm. Pause again. Picture how you curl closer to another when cold presses. It feels natural, instinctive. It is comfort, but more than comfort. It is memory of caves where cold bit hard, where warmth of body saved life, where belonging was shield. The instinct to press close is not learned in one life, but carried across many, carried in bone, in breath, in rhythm. If you're still listening, notice how the instinct itself feels softer now. Not sharp, not urgent, but quiet, steady, woven beneath thought. You don't need to analyze it, to explain it. Just drift with its echo. Even the way silence soothes is ancient. The hush of snow outside, the muffled sound of thick walls, the stillness of deep night. These were once signs of safety. Noise meant danger, predator, storm, intruder. Silence meant the group was safe. The fire still glowed. The watchers still stirred. Even now, when silence deepens, your body softens, your breath steadies, your eyes close easier. And so, the forgotten instinct of silence holds you still. Pause once more. Imagine lying awake in darkness. The house around you is still, the world outside quiet. You listen, waiting, sensing. The silence is not empty. It is shield. Your body softens, your breath deepens, you drift again. This is not new. It is memory, carried across winters without number. The forgotten instincts rise in other ways too. The weight of blanket comforts, because hides once pressed close. The glow of candle soothes, because fire once meant life. The sound of crackling wood, though not needed now, still calms, because it once meant warmth against storm. The instincts remain, though their reasons have faded. If you're still listening, notice how objects themselves feel older now. Not only blanket, not only fire, but echoes of fur, of embers, of warmth pressed close. You don't need to hold each reason. Let the echo itself soothe you. Even the way we fear night lingers. Darkness is not only absence, but memory of predators, unseen, of storms pressing, of dangers beyond firelight. We no longer face them, but the instinct remains, a flicker of unease in deep shadow, a quicker breath in silence, too heavy, yet comfort remains, the reassurance of light, of warmth, of breath beside you. These are echoes of the cave, the hut, the pit, and so, forgotten instincts shape not only fear, but comfort. Pause again. Picture yourself lighting a candle at night. Its glow is small, its flame fragile, but it calms you. You watch it flicker, your breath steadies, your eyes soften. It is not only candle you see, but memory of fire and cave, fire and hut, fire that once turned night's survivable dreams to carry instinct. Even now, they linger longer in winter, heavier, stranger, as if longer nights still shape them. We dream of animals, of shadows, of ancestors, though their names have changed. Perhaps our bodies still follow rhythms older than city, older than field, older than word. If you're still listening, notice how dream itself feels older now. It's not yours alone, but shared across time, across winters, across breath. You don't need to hold each vision. Let it fade, as others did before. The forgotten instincts live in children most clearly. A child seeks parents' warmth, presses close at night, stirs when silence breaks. A child feels safer in circle, calmer in company, uneasy in solitude. These are not habits learned, but instincts carried. They remind us that survival was never solitary. That warmth was always shared, and so, even in comfort, the body remembers. Closeness. Pause once more. Imagine a child stirring in the middle of the night, climbing into bed beside parent. The parent's eyes pulls blanket over both. The child softens, breath steadies, sleep returns. It is not convenience, not indulgence. It is instinct older than word. The body carries many such echoes. To face another when sleeping is to feel safer, because in cave, eyes watched. To lie near wall is to feel shielded, because in hut, walls held storm. To cover head lightly is to feel hidden, because in pit, concealment was protection. None of this is chosen now. It is remembered, and you are left with a reflection drifting softly, like smoke lingering after flame. Are the instincts we forget truly gone, or do they still hum within us, shaping how we rest, how we curl, how we breathe, in silence? Asterisk, the fire has dimmed. The huts have fallen. The bones and hides have returned to earth. Yet something of those winters never ended. Those centuries have passed, though warmth is no longer rare, though glass and brick keep storms at bay. We carry within us the endless night of our ancestors. The rhythms, the instincts, the comfort of closeness, they remain, soft but steady, echoing in the way we sleep even now. Pause here. Imagine yourself lying in your room. The heater hums faintly. The blanket presses heavy. The window holds back frost. You know you are safe. Yet still, you curl toward warmth. You pull cover higher. You breathe slower in silence. Somewhere deeper than thought, you follow the rhythm of the cave. You are not far from those who pressed close around fire. You are not different from those who dreamed in huts of bone and hide. You carry them still, and so, the endless night is within you. Pause again. Picture how you wake in the middle of night. You stir, you turn, you half rise. Perhaps you sit in silence. Perhaps you drift again. It feels strange, yet natural. It's rhythm of first sleep, second sleep, of watchers tending fire, of dreamers stirring between. It is memory, older than word, older than city, older than field. If you're still listening, notice how the rhythm itself hums now. Not loud, not sharp, but slow, deep, beneath thought. You don't need to remember each theory, each pattern. Just let it drift. The closeness of another still warms more deeply than blanket. A hand across your side, a body pressed near, a breath shared. This calms in ways no fire alone can. It is not only love, not only comfort. It's a memory of circle, of warmth shared, of trust given. Even in safety, the body remembers the tribe, the cocoon, the press of many against cold. And so, belonging is warmth, as it was then. Pause once more. Imagine lying beside another. Their breath steadies, your breath follows. The silence folds around you both. You feel safe, though danger is gone. You feel warmer, though heater hums. It is instinct, older than reason, deeper than thought. The endless night also lingers in dream. Our minds still wander into visions of beasts, of shadows, of ancestors. We still see fire turn to river, shadows turn to figures, silence turn to presence. Perhaps dreams are not only personal, but echoes of winters where long nights gave room for vision. Perhaps story itself is dream remembered, told in morning, passed on. If you're still listening, notice how dream itself feels older now. Not yours alone, but echo of many before. You don't need to hold each image. Let it fade as theirs did. Like sparks fading into smoke, even the way we build homes carries rhythm. Rooms cluster around warmth. Families still gather near flame. At hearth, at stove, at fire pit. Okay. Blankets are pulled heavy. Silence sought at night. Though we call it comfort, it is survival's echo. The form is changed. but the pattern remains. And so, the night within us shapes the life around us. Pause again. Picture dawn in your own home. The sky glows pale, the blanket warm still, the silence folds. You rise, you stretch, you breathe. Yet what carried you to morning was not heater, not glass, not walls. It was rhythm itself, the echo of countless winters. It's a memory of fire and breath and circle. If you're still listening, notice how time itself feels deeper now. It's night stretched across centuries, morning carried across generations. Don't need to follow each thread. Just let the endless night hum beneath. The echo of survival is not only in how we sleep, but in how we feel. Silence calms because silence once meant safety. Fire soothes because fire once meant survival. Closeness warms because closeness once meant life. These instincts may be forgotten, but they remain, guiding without word, shaping without thought. And so, within us all, the winter night still lingers. Pause once more. Imagine the storm outside, wind pressing against glass. Inside, you lie warm, your breath slow, your eyes closed. You do not fear, yet the body responds as it always has, curling closer, pulling cover, drifting slower. You sleep as ancestors slept, though the cave is gone, though the hut has crumbled, and you are left with a reflection drifting softly. It's like embers fading, but never gone. Do we truly live apart from those winters, or do we carry them still? The fire, the hides, the breath, the circle, the rhythm of survival. Within every night, we close our eyes, close our eyes.